The KX250F started out its life in a unique way. Back in 2004, the original machine was a hybrid, not part electric and part gas, but part Kawasaki and part Suzuki. The end result was a bike that felt more Kawasaki thanks in large part to the steel perimeter frame and less Suzuki. Was it a great bike right out of the box? No, but it was a great foundation that many teams used to win championships. Of those, Mitch Payton and his Pro Circuit squad won 6 out of 9 possible 250F championships, counting the West and East Supercrosses and the Nationals since the bike debuted. In 2006, the hybrid pass of the KX250F was over. The bike got a complete makeover, from the new aluminum perimeter frame, different plastic, to the radically improved engine. Did that mean it was good? Of course not. But when it won its maiden professional race at Glen Helen, the last race of the year in 2005, people began to take notice. Then it won every 250F shootout. At that point, there was no doubt the KX250F was the best bike of 2006. And it really deserved all the accolades that went with that. For 2007, everyone is gunning for the KX250F, just like they were gunning for the YZ250F just a few short years ago. So did Kawasaki do enough to keep it on top of the heap, or did they rest on their laurels while the rest of the pack caught up? That's the real question we had when we first threw a leg over the new machine. So what did Kawasaki do to remain on top? Within the engine, they revised the ignition timing and jetting, changed the piston ring to reduce mechanical loss, modified the crown of the piston, and polished the intake ports. To feed the engine more efficiently, they straightened the air boot. When it comes to the handling and suspension, Kawasaki adjusted the stiffness of the frame to reduce the front fork rigidity and allow for quicker steering and a lighter feeling for more maneuverability. The shock received a new spring and revised damping settings. The forks got softer subsprings and a revised secondary damping valve. So was it enough? The answer is yes. In the 250F class, horsepower and the power band in which that power is delivered is king. That said, the KX250F engine is the best in the class. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It puts out great power down low, carries that power into a meaty mid-range, and on the top end it revs to the moon. This is what a 250F should run like. We did have one problem we have to tell you about. Our KX250F suffered an engine failure within a few hours of riding the bike. Was it a fluke? Only time will tell. We've had the bike back for a long time now and haven't suffered a single failure since. The KX250F is a serious race machine. What does that mean? It doesn't have the plushest suspension in the class. This isn't a bad thing. If you're in shape and you can go hard the entire moto, the suspension does its job. It absorbs the big hits, stays incredibly stable, and does everything you ask of it. Now when you get a little tired, the rigidity of the KX250F frame, and we know it's slightly less rigid than last year's, starts to let you feel every bump on the track. We've already talked about the great power plant the KX250F has, but honestly, we didn't glow about it enough. With an engine this good, going fast is easy. Obstacles that pose problems on other 250Fs pose almost no problem for the Cow. You really don't need to use a clutch. With all the power, just get it in the right gear and go. This leads us to one of the few problems we have with the bike. The shifting is notchy. There are no two ways about it. We initially thought that after some break-in time it might get better, but it never did. Our second attempt to fix the problem was to move the shift lever up one notch. It turns out one notch is way too far. The best suggestion we came up with is to go out and buy a hammerhead shifter that has a knob positioned 15 millimeters higher than stock. So now that we've spent plenty of time on the bike and sorted out our few little problems, you probably want to know the answer to the question we posed long ago. Is the 2007 KX250F still the best bike in the class? Even with our engine problems and shifting problems, we have to say yes. It comes down to this. The bike has decent suspension, a great frame, solid handling, good controls, bad grips, and by far the best motor in the class. Are you really not going to buy a bike just because the grips are bad? We didn't think so. For motocross.com, I'm Tim Olson.